I said we're going to do this, and then Jay takes his headphones off. Okay.
I had to put my charger in.
Now we're going to do this. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 197 of Littleroot Lessons. Carter just ruined my intro, and Jay just made it even worse. How we doing today, boys?
Restart it.
Oh, no, we're just going with this. We're
not shipping it.
Y'all already know who we are. All three of us are here, which is great. Carter, Jay, Rocho. And we have a tournament to talk about, and also some DLC stuff.
Don't skip over the football this week, man. I know you guys haven't played yet.
Yeah,
with the Ravens, baby. The Ravens?
Okay, with
the overtime punt return to win the game.
Dude, that was insane. I literally was saying to myself, I was like, when Lamar got sacked and we got like a 3rd and 17, I'm like, oh, we lost. All right, game over. Then he hits a touchdown for Zay Flowers. I'm like, oh my God. And then they go down and score, and then we look terrible coming out in OT. Great defensive stop. And I was like, this just feels right for a punt return. I was bouncing and screaming around my whole house. It was awesome. And that was after the Islanders had a comeback win in overtime last night. So the comeback kids are rolling right now. I'm loving life.
Actually, with Jay bringing up football, this is we're recording a little early in the day than we usually do. Carter and I, we've had this tradition for about as long as we've known each other. Me being a diehard Eagles fan and him being a diehard Cowboys fan, that when our two teams play, we completely ignore each other's existence. So so from 8:30 to like 11 or so tonight, 11:30.
That's 7:30 in normal people time. In Cornfield Standard Time.
No, Cornfield time. So for us,
I can't joke about that anymore. I'm outnumbered here.
I know you are.
You really are.
You have. Yeah, it's that Northeast 95 corridor, aka the only place in this country that matters. Because I'm an absolute East Coast bias boy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that one.
Thank you. Let's go. So for us to actually do a podcast where like Carter and I will speak to each other civilly, we had to get it done before the Sunday Night Football game. And
fair.
With that all aside, let's dive right into some DLC discussion, guys. We finally got an Indigo Disk trailer a week before the release date, and it showed things.
Not a lot, but some things.
Yeah, it was honestly kind of disappointing for like being a week out or whatever. I think the only like truly interesting thing that came out of it is, hey, legendary.
Well, no, we have the whole sync thing. You can actually be a Pokemon, so you can be your Urshifu.
We can play
and just
Hey
walk
You
around
Pikachu,
surging striking things. Yeah, it was confirmed, I believe, by Joe Merrick from Cerebi that the sync will work on any single Pokemon, so it's not just limited to like your cute little Pikachu and stuff. Like, you can be your Urshifu, you can be like, I don't know, whatever your favorite Pokemon is. I'm going to be a Mamoswine, and it's going to be great. The vibes are going to be immaculate. And
I'm actually genuinely surprised that it's for everything.
Let's be honest here, it's going to be buggy as absolute hell.
Yeah.
No, there's no way it's good, right?
No, not at all. And the legendaries as well are back. We got some confirmations on specific legendaries. There is a chance that not all of them are coming back. There were certain ones that usually appear that didn't, namely like Xerneas and Yveltal. We didn't see the Tapus, so maybe it's not everyone coming back. Who knows?
Kieran got a bad haircut.
Yeah, Kieran got a bad haircut.
Every time you say it, I still think you're saying Kieran.
Kieran got a bad haircut. Kieran with a mullet. Kieran White with a mullet, baby.
Yep. That's actually the true form of the original dragon.
Yeah. Ride that dragon. Ride it. Mullet Nation.
You're outnumbered again.
I'm not arguing. I think it's great. I need to message Carl real quick.
Wait, are you gonna? I was gonna say that's gonna be the thumbnail, right?
Now it's the thumbnail.
Absolutely, it's gonna be
you're very welcome for the amazing thumbnailing coming, everyone. While Carter texts Carl, not much else was really in the trailer. For like a 4-minute trailer, I feel like we got very little.
Well, I think part of it as well, like the trailer led off with the teal mask, and it like officially revealed the Ogerpon forms because we never got them on like an official like trailer or anything. So like they did that, but I think that was why like I think only like 2.5 minutes were Indigo Disk stuff. One other thing it did show us we're able to bring trainers over from Paldea to Blueberry Academy, and if you do certain things, you can actually trade for one of their Pokemon, and there's a new mark on these Pokemon where when you send it out, like the example they gave was Iono, you were able to trade. She was able to trade you a Magnemite, and when you sent it out with the mark, it would say "Go Iono's Magnemite," and so that was pretty cool. And,
that is pretty interesting.
And maybe that's something that we see in future events, like over the past year, whenever we have an IC, the event Pokemon from, like they'll do a giveaway, an event Pokemon from the previous IC winners team. So like whenever we get EUIC, we'll get some Pokemon from the LAIC team. And maybe this year it could be like the winners like name, like someone's like, oh, like go Wolf's Incineroar, or like go Paul's Arcanine, like something like that. And I think that would be cool, like just another aspect of VGC lore where you have a mark on your not only do you have your own Pokemon as an event mon, but like it's also has your mark. And I think that would be pretty cool. That's pretty much it for the DLC. We have
I mean that's basically it, right? It's like, hey, we have legendaries. Also, there's a few minor things that we are also able to do.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it there. Next thing we have one of our last two. We had one of our last two Regulation E regionals this week, and I'm going to throw up the day one usage if I get the right one. That's the right one. Yep. So the regional in Stuttgart, Germany. Stuttgart's in Germany, right?
I'm so glad you said it because
it is.
I was going to let you drive the bus on this one.
Thank you. Okay, good that I got that right. Not that much of a dumb American. So yes, the Stuttgart regional is our second to last regional. Our last Regulation E regional being next week in San Antonio, Texas. And day one, we see Urshifu and Tornadus, the best bros that have been terrorizing the metagame, take their rightful spot, in my opinion, as the number one and number two Pokemon in day one usage. Edging out Pokemon such as Fluttermane and Iron Hands, which have been in those top two spots for a while. And Landorus, how the mighty has fallen. In the early months of this format, it was pretty much a lock for top three, falling all the way to 8th in day one usage.
It's funny how you say like the mighty has fallen, and it still is on a quarter of the teams, across the day one. Like we have this top 12 here, and 10 of the 12 are 20% or more usage. 11 of 12 is the 20% or more usage, which is just insane, I think. And top 7 is 30% or more.
Yeah.
Like that top 6 is basically just a team on its own. And
literally,
it truly is just, the meta has definitely seen a centralization point here. But I know when talking about this event towards the finals, they were talking about how these centralized metas can sometimes allow for unique Pokemon to take some hold in different events and stuff. So, it was nice to see some unique stuff as well.
Yeah, I think when we get to the top 8, we'll see some more like unique Pokemon, including one that we were really high on in last week's episode that really hasn't seen like many big time results. But in generally, of course, this is the usual suspect, so to speak, um, for really any metagame that you're going tournament that you're going into for Regulation E. Moving on to day 2 usage, we do have 2 changes. The main changes in terms of usage, we had Roaring Moon and who was 12th, and surprisingly, Hisuian Arcanine, which was a Pokemon with over 30% usage, 6th place. Both those Pokemon dropped off from day 1 to day 2 in top 12 usage, and Fire Ogerpon, a Pokemon that we have not seen in top 12 since the early meta, surged into day 2 top 12, tied with a Rillaboom in tied for 4th place in usage. King Gambit also moved into the top 12 as well. So we dropped a fire type and a dark type and replaced them with a different fire type and dark type.
Amoonguss also came up into the top 12 here.
And Water Pond dropped. Yeah. Nope, you're right.
Yeah, Amoonguss also, this is crazy. Like seeing the fall of Water Pond from day 1 to Hearthflame taking 35% of teams is nuts to me.
It seems like there was a lot of Fire Pond on the day 1 stream, and I think that Grassy Glide duo of like the Fire Ogre Pond plus Rillaboom, as you can see, the two are tied really in usage.
Good. Yeah,
it's very good. I think it's on a resurgence. I think the big thing is like there's probably a lot less, or at least there was less Dragonite teams expected at this tournament. And I mean, when we look at the results, there really wasn't much Dragonite. And then those two, they do well. Having that Grassy Glide to go into Urshifu is super good. We were seeing a few non-standard Urshifu Terra types. I believe on stream we did see Terra Fairy Urshifu at once, so it's already starting to get to the point where Urshifu is going towards a defensive Terra. I could see situations where Regulation F, that could also be the case where you can't go Terra Water, you have to go defensive Terra on the Urshifu. But I think it's the Rillaboom, Ogerpon, Fire really took advantage of that potential like interaction with the mostly Terra Water Urshifus.
I think it's a little interesting to see. Oh, sorry, Carter. You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I think it was interesting to see the rise in King Gambit from day 1 to day 2 because, like you pointed out, Landorus was not as popular as it normally is. Being up towards that top 3, and now sitting in that 7th spot or in the lower half of the top 12. King Gambit, doesn't get as much Defiant opportunities. But I know something that we were seeing a little bit more there was Icy Wind Tornadus, which King Gambit takes a really good advantage of. And of course, Landorus is still popular enough.
Even Bleak Wind Storm is also relevant, right? Like being able to have that chance for a speed drop. You have Moonblast from Fluttermane that has a chance to drop that as well. I'm trying to think. There's something else I played against. Oh, like Shadow Ball from Goldango as well. Like that's another one that you can actually switch in on that one and take that super well. Have a chance to get that Spadef drop in there. Like, all right, cool. Now you died a Sucker Punch. Thanks.
Sucker Punch time.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it comes down to. If you can get this, I mean, the Gambit's really great next to Amoonguss. It's great with any sort of like speed control, and it doesn't even need the speed control really. Once you get that a Swords Dance off, or you get that Bleak Wind Storm Defiant boost, or like an ice or and such. Terra Dark, Black Glasses / Dreadplate, Sucker Punch at +2. Not a lot in this format is really living that. Like, you have, Hands and Urshifu live it when they aren't Terra because of the resistance, and even then they're taking a good bit of damage. It's one of those Pokemon that, weirdly enough, like, it's not like that there's no answers into King Gambit, but it's also a Pokemon where if it gets into that position, you pretty much have to win the Sucker Punch mind game of are they going to sucker or not. And if just having that Sucker Punch pressure in the back of your mind at all times, especially once it's boosted, it can just start picking up these massive KOs. And it is like, it's just generally a really, really good Pokemon that is always going to find at least some spot in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the other things, like we talk about Pokemon that aren't here, Hisuian Arcanine dropping off a lot. I think that the number that I heard that only 7 of the 42 teams that made Day 2 had Hisuian Arcanine on it, which again is a huge drop off. This is a Pokemon that when we were doing our tier listing, we were like, this is an S tier Pokemon, this is super freaking defining. And a lot of the Day 2 players didn't take it, but as we move to Top Cut Explorer to look at the top 8 teams,
it didn't matter.
We can see that the number 1 team still had it. 7 for 8.
Whoa.
Michael Jordan could never.
I feel like that's disrespectful to Michael Jordan.
This Hisuian Arcanine, all it does is win. Lorenzo Silvestrini, congratulations on your win and on your Worlds invite. This is the team of Hisuian Arcanine, Tornadus, Flutter, Waterfoo, Goldengo, and Rillaboom. This is a team that we've seen a lot. And just these Tornadus hyper offense with Urshifu, Ghost type, Water, Fire, Grass. It's just such an amazing archetype that it really is like the defining mode of the entire regulation from day 1 on. Moving on to some other teams, or just other Pokemon that we mentioned, we said that there is some room for creativity, and we do see a Regidrago in 2nd place. Albert Boss brought a Salamence to top 8. We see an Indeedee, a naked Indeedee on a non-Trick Room team, along with Dragapult on World's runner-up Michael Kelsch's top 8 team. And there was another one. And then we also have where are you? In Daniela Spintarelli's team, we have the Incarnate Landorus that we were talking about last week that we were all pretty high on. Got the top 8, couldn't go all the way and get the win that I was predicting. Maybe next week in San Antonio, I'll get it.
There's also a Dragapult down here in top 8 as well.
Yep. I mentioned,
Did
Michael.
you? Okay. I just didn't hear you then. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, I think honestly the naked Indeedee on the team is a little more out of place. We can actually go to Michael's team right here.
It kind of makes sense on this team, just as like a way to answer Booster, Flutter, and Tailwind stuff a little bit better. You know, you have the Psychic Seed, and it allows your Dragapult to do massive damage. But like that, this is also just a core that Michael Kelsch is extremely comfortable with. He's been playing this Dragapult, Urshifu, Chiempo, Tornadus core for
since Worlds.
Before it, he had hundreds of games and was running tournaments and stuff with that over before Worlds too with that core. And at this point, originally there was the Fergaraf who fills a similar role to the Indeedee. Indeedee just gets that extra bulk from the Psychic Seed,
and it also gets the Follow Me as well.
Yeah,
which is also big.
And it helps a lot with this this Ogre Pawn as well over here to do its strong attacking stuff. So I think that this is just something Michael's really comfortable with all around.
I think another interesting tech with this team is you have an Assault Vest Terra, like again the defensive Terra, the Assault Vest Terra Fairy Urshifu. I think that isn't something that we've really seen recently. And again, it's like the changes that we might be seeing with Urshifu are that it might not be going full-blown offense. I think people realize, especially on this team, you still have the Rain Dance, you still have Qianpao to help support it. I can go with a defensive Terra and a non-boosting item to bulk myself up where I can get that extra Surging Strikes off. And getting that extra hit in could be more important than like doing a ton of damage on the initial hit.
Something I wanted to note in terms of Terra types too, with this team and like across the board with a lot of this tournament, is that Tornadus has gone a lot more towards Terra Steel, when I think before Terra Ghost was extremely popular.
Terra Dark as well. Yeah, those were both fairly popular.
Like this defensive Terra is just really good into a lot of, the Pokemon that hit you super effectively, like Chiempao. It's a good neutral type into, Pokemon like Goldengo and Fluttermane and stuff. So I think that, that's another development I like to see.
I think one thing that's really interesting with this Steel Terra on Tornadus, which they did say on stream that Steel was the most common Terra type for Tornadus, is that it actually helps you in the Tornadus mirror, where your Bleak, if you can go into Terra Steel and your opponent, either it's a neutral Terra to flying or already burnt their Terra on something else, your Bleakwind Storm is actually doing more than theirs. So if you get into that endgame Torn versus Torn mirror, you can actually like be able to bulk out your opponent and win that way, which again is just Tornadus is such a common Pokemon that it's not something that you can ignore. Like you can easily get into a position where your end game is just these two mostly support Pokemon, and if you can get an extra leg up on defense, then you can take that win.
Yeah, number 2 in day 1 usage. So
yep.
Can someone remind me what Lash Out does? Is it double your power if you have a stat lowered?
Yeah, so you use it with
on
Intimidate.
The turn it's lowered. Yeah.
And it becomes 140 base power or something.
But you're still at -1. Like, it doesn't ignore the stat drops, right?
It doubles your base power, so it almost does, in a sense.
So, I mean, in a way, it does ignore it. It's just, it's not truly that 2 times effect.
And again,
and I mean, it doesn't have to be your attack either. It's any stat drop as well.
And then you get a critical hit, and you're doing 140 base power off of,
Yeah, and you can
Sword of Ruin boosted, Life Orb boosted, Stab, Lash Out seems. I don't know if I like it more than just like Sucker Punch, just because you still are outsped by like Flutter, right?
Yeah.
So
Speed Tie. You normally outspeed Fluttermane because they invest a lot in bulk.
It all depends because because of the speed booster.
And I guess the other thing there is like you don't want to Sucker Punch on your Indeedee female team, so like maybe just Crunch then. Like then you have a higher base power attack anyway.
Yeah, but you get that extra bonus into Landorus, which is something that's a lot in the field, and Arcanine, which is also something that's all around the field.
Does Landorus even take a -1 Icicle Crash though?
No, it's probably not.
Especially if it's Life Orb
Terra,
boosted.
But you can use it against what's next to the Landorus.
That is true.
And that can be pretty good. I do want to point out, like looking at the top 8 here, like this was Goldengo's tournament.
It really was.
Like Goldengo is just really making its name for itself. Tournament in, tournament out. It's been fantastic, and here it is, number 1, number 2, number 4, and top 8. Incredible.
No, Goldengo. It's so weird because going all the way back to Regulation B, everyone was like, okay, well, Flutter's here. Flutter's always going to beat Goldengo. You have to defensive terror the Goldengo, and that's not good. And the Flutter could still threaten you. And it was like one of those things where it was nowhere to be seen. And as in Regulation C, it started creeping back up again towards the latter months of, okay, this Pokemon's still really good. And there's a lot of different sets. The winning set did have the Terra Dragon Make It Rain. I'm sorry, Terra Dragon lefties with the Protect, Make It Rain, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, which, by the way, Leftovers next to Rillaboom is absolutely insane. That was
one of the games I got to catch today in top 8. They were just like, I think both opponents had Goldengo out, and it was like, all right, and now we Protect and Leftovers and Grassy Terrain, and next thing you know, it's like it never even took that Make It Rain.
Yeah,
so
holy cow,
absurd.
Yeah, if you just a single Protect and you can recover 25% of your health, and it's just disgusting. how much recovery you can get on a set of Pokemon like that. We also saw on the other side a nasty plot set with the Life Orb on Nils Dunlop's team, a more offensive team with the Tornadus and Regidrago, but still also having Rillaboom's Grassy Surge to support the Goldango and give it some sort of recovery to slightly mitigate the Life Orb chip.
Yeah, and this one's Terra Steel as well to try to get that extra offensive output. And like that's the cool thing about Goldango is that its typing is so good that Steel itself is like a good defensive Terra for it. Yep. You know, like dropping that Ghost Terra sometimes is really good. And then in other teams where you have maybe a worse fire matchup, because this team has 3 fire resists, 2 fire resists, 1 fire resist after Terra on the Ogre Pond.
2 fire resists after Terra.
With
actually,
Tornadus with the water
and
Rock
with
Rillaboom.
Terra Rock.
Yeah, like you don't really need that Terra Dragon because you have a lot of good switch-ins to it. But like that Terra Dragon is such a good defensive type for it as well. But I love the Steel because you get offensive and defensive benefits out of it.
I think with an item like Life Orb, or I've been playing around with Choice Specs on Goldango, having Terra Steel on those Pokemon where you want to put out the offense to just get that extra oomph is really, really important. If you can get a Nasty Plot off, your Life Orb, Terra Steel, Make It Rain, resisted Pokemon aren't going to be able to live that. And if they are, they're going to be going down to your partner Pokemon. It's the amount of damage that this thing can put out is just immense. And because of the ability for it to boost very quickly with Nasty Plot and have that natural bulk where you're able to safely Nasty Plot is super impressive.
Looking at Nils' team as well, there's a couple things I wanna ask about here. Okay, isn't Splash Plate technically less optimal than Mystic Water for the sake of
no same damage?
No, it's not for that. It's for wasn't there like an argument for like Rose Incense versus Miracle Seed on Rillaboom last generation?
Wasn't it just that you wanted a Miracle Seed for something else or something? I thought
it was because of Fling.
Is that
Fling
isn't
damage.
that technically more optimal?
No, because you're the only one. You're the one who's clicking Fling.
Yeah, I think it was Fling. I can't remember.
I don't think there's any tech in reality that makes one better than the other. That's why you run Dread Plate instead of Black. You run Dread Plate and Black Glasses. Like it doesn't. They're both 1.1 boosters. You might just have less Fling damage when you're running like Fling Rillaboom might have been a thing with like a under Trick Room with like a weakness policy set up or something.
Yeah, can someone just like in the comments tell me why people were doing that? I know there's a reason. I for the life of me cannot remember.
I'm gonna Google it quick.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
The other thing I want to point out is his Tornadus doesn't have Bleak Wind Storm. It has Air Slash.
It does have Air Slash, and Air Slash is very interesting. So Air Slash, I think it's about the same exact damage output. You do get the flinch chance.
It's single target as well.
It is single target. It is more accurate. It still can miss. The flinch chance...
90? Or is it 95?
95.
Okay.
And I think it's like a base 7... I think it's base 75 damage and 95 accuracy. So in the grand scheme of things, you're doing the same damage to Bleak Wind Storm. It's just that you're going for a higher probability of hitting the Pokemon that you want to hit, and also going for a flinch chance. Also, Air Slash hits Bramblegast, which was a Pokemon on the rise, and
it's not considered a wind move.
It's not.
It's also just more accurate, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That was something.
Also, I did the research, and there is nothing.
Air Cutter. Air Cutter is a wind move. Air Slash is not.
I'm not seeing anything on why Rose Incense or Miracle Seed is better than the other. The only thing I'm seeing is that if you want to attract Roselia / Roserade to spawn little buddies.
Cool. If playing Rose Incense increases my chance of my opponent bringing Roserade, then by all means I will play it.
Remember when Roserade was a thing and I think it was like briefly.
No, I don't.
I want to say it was like series 1, 2, and I think a bit of series 3 of Sword and Shield.
I used it on a team that I built where I just used like Cynthia's Pokemon for Sword and Shields, and it was okay. It was pretty bad,
Pokemon.
but like it wasn't bad in RTT last season or last year or whatever. So at least it's that. It's got that.
I think the Pokemon's neat. It's bad, but it's neat. One other thing, just the more I look at Nils' team, the more interesting it looks, is that this Ogerpon doesn't have any grass type coverage. It's Ivy Cudgel, which is a fire type attack on the Heart Flame Mask Ogerpon, and Stomping Tantrum. And also
Probably
it has
for the
Follow
Arcanine,
Me.
right?
What was that?
Stomping Tantrum for Arcanine?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
Heatran.
Yeah. So it actually is interesting where we're just talking about the Rillaboom, Heartflame Ogerpon, Grassy Glide duo, and well, there's no Grassy Glide with this. Well, there's only one Grassy Glide with this duo, not two.
At my locals last month, I ran into Hearthflame plus Rilla, and they were doing the Focus Energy set on Ogerpon, and let me tell you, it felt atrocious to be crit by that thing. Yeah, that was a match.
It was the Teal Mask Pond, or is it the red the Hearthflame Pond?
It was Hearthflame, yeah.
Oh, that's
that
nice.
so
That is a nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, if you let that get going, that's no fun.
Well, he was also playing Clefairy, so he had like redirection, and he had Rillaboom for fake out support. The team was really cool. It was really cool. That was the match I won on a team sheet error.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So like, I'll take it.
So two of the other teams I want to talk about, I'd say Albert that aren't in this in the top 4. We have Albert Boss's top 8 team, and I also want to talk about Danielle Spentarelli's top 8 as well. Albert specifically because yet again we're seeing this Rocky Helmet support Salamence do super well as the Tailwind setter, and honestly a bit of a special offense on these balance teams.
I love the men's pick.
It's like, and I think again what you said, like it's a weird Pokemon that just does super well in this meta. It has its niche where it has the role consolidation of the damage output with the Draco Meteor, the Tailwind, and the Intimidate. You're able to do a lot of different things, and it's also really good into Ogerpon and Rillaboom, and Urshifu.
Urshifu, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have like that sustain with Roost, that good Terra Poison. It's good into Heatran, especially the ones that aren't running, steel coverage, if they're running like the substitute instead. I know most of them run the steel coverage and 3 attacks nowadays, but that's still not an amazing matchup for the Heatran. I think that Mence is really really strong into a lot of the top mons right now, and has a really great place.
Mence is something. Unfortunately, I don't have any more locals between now and Regulation F. But if I did, this would be on the list of things I would want to like test out and play towards as well. But yeah, I really like Salamence. It's always been a mon that I've had this draw to play, just because it's move pool and it's the tech that it provides is very unique to it, right? Like being able to be a dragon with Intimidate that also has Tailwind, has a it just, you can list 100 things and it's just like, oh yeah, I guess it does do all of that.
Yeah, it's definitely an example of a Pokemon where when you're it's not the classic idea, and of course like goes back. There was a few of my friends locally. One of them brought up Salamence. A few others said no, it's bad Pokemon. What are you thinking? And then you had the Tangs do well with Salamence, and in Toronto, and from there we've seen this grow because that was a Choice Scarf Salamence, and now we've seen it develop even more to this Roost Rocky Helmet version that has been doing. It feels like a handful of them are popping up in the top 8, top 16 of pretty much every single tournament since Toronto, and it's just like you have to strip away the what the Pokemon is. You have to ignoring the fact that it's a Salamence, and you just look at the tools. It can make a lot of sense on a lot of these teams, and again on these balanced teams here, it does make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I also
your Water Fire Grass, your Dragon Fairy Steel with the Kingambit and Flutter, like you can do a lot.
And I think it makes sense just given the way that like the meta has kind of, evolved, especially, this meta here. Like we see that Chien Pao is actually, pretty low on that bottom, in the top 12 usage. And out of that top 12, not too much is actually extremely threatening to Salamence. There's not a lot of things there that hit it super effectively besides the Flutter Mane.
Yeah.
So its typing, its defensive typing has a lot of utility to be supportive like this and stick around and sustain. That Dragon type is a really great type in this format, and pairing it with the flying really limits a lot of the things that are able to, do damage to it.
Another thing, just with this team in general, my brain's weird. I like stuff like this. You can bring the top 4 Pokemon, so like the Wellspring, the Heatran, the Salamence, and the Flutter Mane. And with those 4, you get both your Water, Fire, Grass, and Fantasy Core. And so I think, it's, again, with a balanced type team, being able to switch, I'll pretty much have a switch in for anything coming your way with these 4 Pokemon defensively is super huge. I mean, not saying that the Flutter Mane is defensive, but it can eat a Dragon type attack that's going into the Salamence slot, or a Ghost type attack. Sorry, or like a Fighting type attack going into like the Heatran slot, and then retaliate with some Terra Fairy, Spec Spoon Blast, or Dazzling Gleam. So it can still like play its role. I think just again this is a super cool team that the Salamence takes to another level. The other Danielle's team, I want to speak to this specifically because of the Landorus on this team. It's not the Landorus that we're used to seeing.
Lando Eye.
Lando Eye is really good, man.
It really is.
It's got Substitute.
Yeah, so this one, it's sub over Sandsear, and I believe if we look through the Landoruses, a lot of the Lando Eyes, I believe, were dropping Sandsear for Substitute. I think that specifically for this team, since you don't have the Tornadus here, and
the double Genie core is really good, and that's where you really want the Sandsear Storm, just so you have 100% accurate Sandsear and Bleak Winds.
Yeah, now you have the 100% accurate Earth Power, and you get to choose which target's getting hit. And the Substitute is, really, really good when they're trying to take down other Pokemon, that are really threatening, like the Golden Go, who can set up with that nasty plot, and you have that Follow Me with that Ogerpon.
Yeah.
Quick question, does Golden Go get Substitute? It does, right?
I believe so. I know it gets Recover.
It does get Recover.
Recover I'm not worried about, but...
let me check. I'll check right now.
Because I kind of like the idea of
It does. It does get Substitute.
Oh, man. Just sub nasty plot with lefties next to Rillaboom. You can just harass your opponent constantly. The problem is are you dropping Make It Rain or Shadow Ball? And I don't like dropping.
You're dropping Shadow Ball. There's no way you can drop Make It Rain.
Oh yeah, especially if you're doing nasty plot things. Make It Rain just is forever just good.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably use sub Goldie and UDL one of these weeks. Now that you brought it up,
you're welcome.
I can run Make It Rain, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, and sub because.
I mean, you probably still want Protect there so you can get extra lefties Recover, right?
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I just
Substitutes basically protect next turn.
I need to click Shadow Ball, you know? I gotta click big damage move. The real plays drop Nasty Plot, probably.
Yeah.
If you're running sub.
Yeah, but like that's the whole reason I want to run sub is to get a free Nasty Plot.
Yeah, but you can also just like sit behind it and just get a free Make It Rain, you know?
Yeah, just click the damage move.
I don't know, like obviously when you're playing regionals, you want Protect on your Goldie.
Absolutely.
I think
100%.
Draft leagues you can get away with dropping Protect on Pokemon because you know what you're gonna play, but like this is never a conversation I think you have for your Golden Go in a regional.
No, even like
hold on,
a decent sized Golden.
I like you don't want to drop Shadow Ball either. Like that's like how are you hitting Urshifu?
Make It Rain.
I was going to say Nasty Plot into Make It Rain, even on the even though it's a resisted hit on Urshifu, you're chunking it for 78.
Yeah, but you need to set up with Nasty Plot first, to do that damage, and you're doing like we saw it in the finals. I think it was at +1 Terra Steel did like 35%, 40% to Urshifu with the Life Orb. It's tough. Like you can't. Like it's really hard to drop that Shadow Ball. It's such great offensive, damage into the majority of the format. So
yeah, plus it hits like a Mungus for neutral.
I mean, so does Make It Rain, but like you're not dropping your stats, and I think that's the big thing with Shadow Ball, and a lot of the Terra Steels that are running around.
Yeah, in general, super cool team. Again,
running on size spam. Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about Protect if you just have tons of follow me next to it.
Somebody gets it. All right, hold on. I need to make myself a mental note.
Oh no. While you're making that mental note, in the top 16, we did get 2 more Lando Eyes.
I think Showdown's down.
And that.
There we go. It looked like it earlier. But...
So actually, just going through there's more, unless So there's the same amount of Lando Eye, unless I can't count. There's the same amount of Lando Eye in the top 16 as there are Landorus Therian, which is not something that I ever expected to say. So that's a little neat tidbit to look at.
Yeah, Lando Eye, I mean, it's a great offensive, version of what you're getting from, the defensive counterpart of Lando T. You're also faster by quite a significant margin.
Yeah, and the speed's really big.
You outspeed Urshifu that way. Are you base 100 or are you base 101, right?
It is, I can pull that
I think it's 169 it gets to. Let me check. Here, not going to beat me to it. Yeah, 101.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it outspeeds those base 100s as well by 1 point or two speed points. Like it has a really solid matchup, really solid speed tier. Like a lot of really and obviously that output and that damage output is just ridiculous with Life Orb Sheer Force.
I can confirm Lando real good.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I was going to say, if there's nothing else we want to talk about in terms of the top 16 teams, we can just do, before we close out, you went to another PC this weekend, Carter.
I did. Is this the part where I get to talk about things that I did?
Yes.
Actually, first, shout out Swede. I said I was going to do this. You played a team of 6 actual real Pokemon and came in 2nd place at an MSS today. I am proud of you, Swede.
Oh, I actually hadn't seen his final placing. Congratulations.
Swede.
He finished 2nd.
Proud of you.
So, yeah, super great. Great weekend on that. Floor is yours.
So, I got to play up at Collector's Cache over in Lenexa, Kansas again. They've been hosting Premier Challenges like once a month here lately, and so I got to go. The idea of what I wanted to play, I told Carl, hey, I want to play Sneasler. He's like, okay. Sent me a team, and it didn't have Sneasler on it. He's like, what do you think of this? This seems like right up your alley. It's hyper aggro. It's like, just hyper offense, good stuff. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have Sneasler, so fix that. To which he's like, all right, I guess I'll have to like cut stuff to put Rillaboom and Sneasler on here. I'm like, yeah, that's all I want. Thanks, man. To make a long story short, Sneasler was very bad. To make it very, very blunt, it was the worst part of the team. I brought it, I think, in 2 games. I clicked 3 moves with it. And one of those, so I was doing the Unburdened Grassy Seed set, like, yeah. I was Terra Flying with Acrobatics. I crit a Roaring Moon with an Acrobatics after Terra and did like 80 some, like maybe like 75-80%, which allowed me to KO it before it set up Trick Room or Tailwind. And then the next turn I got to Dire Claw a Iron Hands, and then it died. And then fast forwarding a little bit, round 4 I got to play against Carl, and I brought it game 1, and it just like, I think I clicked Acrobatics and it died. So I tried it and it was really bad. So to counter Angelo's like regional here lately, his had a Sneasler win the event. So,
yeah, so I wasn't able to go. Chalky, who is the nicest person in VGC history, has been hosting premier challenges as well outside of Boston, called the Cheese League. And yes, Sneasler won the Cheese League yesterday. Different team. But really, when I looked at this team, honestly, like, the Rillaboom Sneasler thing was a nice set. The top 4 Pokemon here of the Tornadus with the Rain Dance. The Rain Dance just sets up and so much stuff for every other Pokemon on this list. Rain Dance gets rid of Goldango's fire weakness for it to go Terra Steel, even better. Sets up your 100% accurate Sandsear Storms, and it also sets up the extra water damage for your Rapid Strike Urshifu. I've been playing a team very similar to this. If we actually go back to the Top Cut, looked at the Top Cut Explorer, there was another team that was the Urshifu Goldango Double Genie Incarnate Genie offense with Bramblegast as another option. So I was running.
That's what Carl played. Yeah, that's like word for word what Carl played. He played him and I played those same 4. His flex spots were Bramblegast instead of Rillaboom and Bundle instead of Sneasler.
Yeah, he ended up playing the 45 Mice team that is I've been playing. I know I think
he reworked the EVs, but yeah, that's what he played.
He did. Yep.
The best part of this team was by far the genies together. Just being able to like, match Tailwind if need be, or like take speed priority and then like do a ton of damage like Sandsear Storm. Being able to set Rain was awesome, especially next to like Urshifu. Round 2, I was able to set Rain and then Terra Urshifu Aquajet O-Code a Flutterbane, which like I did the calc afterwards, and they had to be, I think, like no bulk, otherwise it was like a roll depending on how much bulk they had. So that like won me that game. Rillaboom being able to do just like it was able to do like a ton of damage like Wood Hammers into Iron Hands and like clicking Grassy Glide every now and then as well. It was really good. The Goldango honestly kind of sucked.
I think you were using it wrong. I know Carl was giving us play-by-play, not to spoil.
Yeah, he gave you play-by-play for my top 4 match, but
yeah,
and I don't know, man.
I don't think
just because correctly. It's this spec set, I really was not a fan of it all day. Every time I brought it, it literally just like switched in and died, or like I let it and it died. Like I just was never able to use it like I wanted to.
So for me using this, the Specs Goldango is one of my favorite parts actually. Not to spoil your run, but you got knocked out in the top 4.
I lost in top 4.
Congratulations!
I lost to
Psy
Spam with Drago. I tried to make a play to prevent Trick Room from going up. It didn't work. Was just kind of swept up under Trick Room past that. Game 2, figured he would try to do something similar. He led Hands plus Drago. I led Rillaboom plus Landorus trying to prevent this. And like my thought process is he swapped in Indeedee last time I had Rillaboom on the field to be able to take away terrain and prevent fake out. So I wanted to pivot Rillaboom out to not play into the fake out. And instead he just went for a fake out into my Landorus and went for a Dragon Energy and just got like a double KO. I'm just like, well, that's really bad. So obviously, like in hindsight, leading Goldango plus Landorus makes it where I can just like go for a Make It Rain, do a ton of damage, or be able to live the hit and live the Dragon Energy, and then just do a ton of damage back with like Make It Rain is probably the play. But like also at the same time, the fact that their Scarf also means that like I had to have priority to set Tailwind to be able to do things in front of them, and like I was never able to get into a position where I could Tailwind and threaten it, or it felt rough. Carl played against the same player, and he had Bundle to be able to like pressure it and be able to do things. And like talking to him afterwards, like Bundle makes a lot of sense on the team, and honestly, the team felt fine. Like I said, the double genies plus like Urshifu is by far the favorite, my favorite part of this team. Just being able to have this like pseudo weather mode really just put a ton of pressure against a lot of my opponents and was able to clean up games really quickly with it.
Yeah, Spam's just a rough matchup for you, honestly. I think
on paper it looks atrocious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know from my experience playing, and just also like notes that Justin Knox gave on the team against the Spam, as long as like it's not a wide guard Armarouge or a weird like Terra on any of like the Armarouge or the Indeedee, leading the Landorus Goldango and then going Terra Steel, Make It Rain plus Sandsear Storm, you should pick up the double KO you should pick up the double KO most of the time, assuming your Sandsear Storm hits both. So of course you are gambling
game
on misses.
1. He never actually played like Indeedee Rouge. He led Hands
Scarf Drago,
Rouge.
right?
Yeah, it was Scarf Drago as well.
Like that's the thing that beats that matchup, because that just obliterates Landorus before you even get the chance to click Sandsear Storm,
So talking to Carl, he's like, "Hey, double genie seems like a good idea as a lead, because like you set rain, you Sandsear Storm, you pick up whatever he's trying to do. If he goes for a follow me, it's fine. If he goes for Trick Room with Indeedee, it probably doesn't take it very well, and if it does, then you just kind of pivot around and hope stall out Trick Room. But like Armarouge is the big threat, so like taking it out turn 1 is the play. And then in reality, my opponent led Hands, and I'm just like, well, I can't attack this turn because it's just going to fake out my Landorus, so it doesn't really matter what I do here.
What was the Terra type on the Armarouge?
Psychic.
Okay, so on that you could have led like Hands Goldango, not Hands. I'm sorry, Lando Goldango. Protect your Lando, and your Spec Shadow Ball should just pick up the Armarouge. They're forced to switch, and
they swap into Indeedee, and I don't do anything there.
But also, if you play too passively, they get Trick Room up, and then they can take the game that way. I think that you just had a terrible top 4 matchup, and honestly, that's all you chalk it up to.
Yeah,
it's it is what it is. I was also playing a 5-man team, right?
Spam was hard enough, and then Choice Spam, you put the Scarf Drago on top of it, and it's like, how do I actually win this without letting Tailwind go up? And I think it's just hard reads, good leads, and
I'm sitting here playing a 5-mon team as well, right? Like Sneasler's never coming in the matchup against multiple Psychic types.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's more so your fault, but.
Well, I wanted to play something fun, and Sneasler seemed like it was fun, and it turned out to be not bad. So.
I think it is better than maybe you're giving it credit for, but it could have just been a rough.
Yeah, the matchups I played.
Spread.
yeah, the matchups I played, it was just like not worth bringing.
Because it has a lot of really good like parts to it with the acrobatics, and like we saw earlier in the regulation, like different sets of it were winning tournaments. Like Wolf won a tournament with it, which we can maybe chalk it up to Wolf a little bit, but like it won your MSS or PC, Angelo. I think that I think you just got really rough matchups for it probably, and it just didn't work, in Sneasler's favor, unfortunately.
My round 1 loss was to it was King Gambit. Actually, I took pictures of all but one of my my opponent's team sheets because that guy was like, I don't think you can do that. I'm like, it's a local dude. It's not that big of a deal.
It's also open team sheet. Like,
yeah,
your opponent's.
I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just jot all this down real quick then. But it was Volcarona, Amoongus, Iron Hands, King Gambit, Qian Pao, Lando, Therian. And it was like the Black Glasses Swords Dance variant of King Gambit with multiple forms of redirection and fake out pressure. In like both games, it was just like, all right, cool. I set up a Swords Dance, and now it doesn't matter what you do. I just click Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
Like, yep, that is also a thing you can just do, isn't it?
Yeah, so something like that. It's just with that amount of redirection, it's difficult. And then you also like, okay, let me try doubling and just putting on a lot of offensive pressure. The Bleak Windstorm sounds great in theory to hurt the redirectors, and then you get the speed drop, and now that +2 King Gambit's +4, and you just make
the fact that like I can't like he would lead like hands plus King Gambit. I'm like, well, that beats my double genie lead because I can't go for my Sandseer Storm like I want to because he just fakes out my Lando. So it was. Like again, on paper, that matchup was absolutely atrocious, and I would have to do a lot of games against it to try to figure out exactly what I want to do in that matchup. But my opponent played it very well. Definitely felt very comfortable on his end of like what he was doing. Whereas that was the first game I played with my team, so
wow, practice helps.
Yeah, you're telling both of us. Because I
tell
cannot
me
talk.
too.
I cannot. But yeah, just getting more comfortable with teams, and also I think the big thing is just having an event that that while you might not have any majors, maybe one might come up at some point next year, but like having an event to go to just practice towards that in itself could be big. We're also at a point where it's just difficult to practice because like the DLC comes out this week. I know for me, I'm relatively checked out of Regulation E. I'm doing USPA, and there are tryouts for both Team New England, Team Rest of New England, and Team Massachusetts. And so right now the tryouts are Regulation E, so I have to stay just enough in where I don't play god awful during tryouts. But at the same time, I'm like, I really don't feel like playing this regulation anymore because I don't have any tournaments.
I've been entirely checked out since like they released the tournament list, and none of them are anywhere near me. I don't have any locals either because they're all on Sundays when I work.
Yep. Miserable.
Yeah, the closest ones for me are in New Jersey, which, if you don't know, the drive from Long Island to New Jersey is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, like 20 minutes, right?
That hour and 20-minute drive that it says on your maps is almost never the case. Because when I drove from Queens to Secaucus for the New Jersey Regionals, I was stuck coming home for 3 hours for a 12-mile drive.
Jay, just plan better.
I literally got a place 40 miles closer to the place to make it a 12-mile drive, and it took me multiple hours to get back because the bridges are terrible, and I don't
literally should have just stayed with me.
I really should have. It was terrible. I didn't even come back for Championship Sunday to go and watch the top 8 because the drive was so miserable I couldn't do it again.
Yeah, I remember.
I just couldn't.
Like the night, it's like by the time I get into Secaucus, you're going to be leaving, and you were right.
It was terrible situation. Yeah, maybe I'll take public transit out there, but the public transit out to New Jersey is also pretty awful because you have to take the train into Penn Station and then take New Jersey Transit and then take subways to get to these places, and it's like, what's the point? What's the point?
I'm gonna have to take the subway on Wednesday because I'm gonna be in New York for work, and it's gonna be a lot quicker to just take the subway from Moynihan to Rockefeller Plaza than it is for me to either walk there or, God forbid, try to find an Uber in New York City in the middle of
the middle of that sounds atrocious.
A couple of weeks ago, I was going upstate to see Alex, and my train came in so late that I missed my Amtrak. And so I had to go to Grand Central Terminal, with which my options were to take a subway or to walk there. And the walk was like a mile, and I was like, I'm just walking there. So I had to walk over there to take Metro North up. That night was a nightmare, man. That was so much fun walking through New York City at like close to midnight to get upstate.
Could be worse. Could not have public transit.
Yeah, that's true. You could live in Missouri. That's
you could live in cornfield.
That in and of itself is just instantly worse.
That's literally a miserable experience. It's in the name. You're in misery.
Do you all know that? Yes. Do you know that meme? Do you know that like TikTok that was circulating like 3 years ago or whatever?
Yeah.
My roommate found that last night, and he was just dying on the couch laughing about it for like legitimately 15 minutes, to the point where I come back, he's like, I need you to watch this. I'm like, I've seen this 3 years ago.
Dude, you're like 3 years too late. It's still funny. Still relevant.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. So on that note, do we have anything else? I gotta cook my chicken cutlets before this game.
I also had to go cook chicken.
All right, I'll run us out of here then.
Let's do it.
No, Jay, you also had to go get chicken to cook.
I also have to go cook chicken tonight. I'll go cook some. You guys might be making cutlets or marsala or whatever the fuck. I'll go heat up some chicken nuggies. Let the vibes really roll in tonight, because we're the comeback kids and we're feeling childlike today. We're all type of giddy. With that, we're going to close out this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that fun YouTube stuff. Make sure you come and follow the Twitter at LR Lessons. Check out the website, www.lrlessons.com. Come hang out in the community Discord. That's where all of us hang and our beautiful community members. There's, so many of us now. It's awesome. And make sure you guys support us over on Patreon and the Discord supporters link. We have different tiers where you get shouted out at the end of the episode, like I'm about to do now. Shout out Johnny Bravo Sr. and Papa Swish for your Patreon support, and shout out to Smeargle for the Discord support. And with that was episode 197. It's Chicky Nuggy time for all the boys here. And we will see you all next time. Peace out.
Go Cowboys.
Go Birds.